The Taliban's resurgence in Afghanistan in August 2021 cast a shadow over the country's human rights landscape. Women and girls in the war-torn country bear the brunt of oppressive policies, with restrictions on their education, facing forced and early marriages and loss of employment. Recently, United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, during his address at the 55th session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, shed light on the egregious violations unfolding, underscoring the urgent need for international attention and action. Let's delve into the details in our next report.
The Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan in August 2021 marked a significant decline in the nation's human rights landscape. The de facto rulers imposed harsh restrictions on freedom of expression and assembly, using violence to suppress dissent. However, one of the most alarming consequences of their rule has been the devastating impact on women and girls. Many girls were forced out of school and now face early marriages. Women lost jobs and are now struggling to support their families. Some were attacked for opposing the Taliban and forced to flee. At a time when women in Afghanistan are denied basic rights, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has called for prioritized women's and girls' rights in Afghanistan.
In Afghanistan, I deplore...
During his speech at the 55th session of the Human Rights Council on March 4, Turk brought attention to the numerous violations of women's and girls' rights that the country faces.
In Afghanistan, I deplore continuing and systematic violations of human rights, particularly the comprehensive violations of the rights of women and girls, which exclude them from almost every aspect of public life, including secondary and tertiary education, employment and movement. Advancing the rights of women and girls must be the highest priority for all who work on and in Afghanistan.
Over the past 2 decades, Afghanistan made significant strides in human rights, democracy, gender equality, education, healthcare, and inclusivity. It served as a regional example with a thriving media landscape and open discourse. However, since August 15, 2021, uncertainty has prevailed, raising fears of human rights violations for activists, former government employees, women and minorities, as highlighted in a recent UNAMA report detailing over 50 decrees curtailing women's freedoms. According to the report, there has been an increase in police harassment in public spaces and further limited women's ability to leave their homes. 57% women in Afghanistan felt unsafe, leaving the home without a mahram or male guardian. Another report of UNAMA revealed over 1,600 cases of human rights violations perpetrated by the Taliban during arrests and detentions, with nearly half constituting acts of torture or other forms of cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment. Taliban rulers have severely restricted human rights in the war-torn country. Institutions designed to support human rights have been severely limited or shut down completely.
The civic freedoms and media freedoms of all Afghans are profoundly curtailed, with many women human rights defenders and journalists suffering arbitrary detentions. The resumption of public executions is horrific. I remain concerned about forced expulsion of Afghans from neighboring countries, particularly for those who face a risk of persecution, torture, or other irreparable harm in Afghanistan.
Today, no country recognizes the Taliban group as Afghanistan's government, and the UN has said that the recognition is almost impossible, while bans on female education and employment remain in place. The biggest point of contention between the international community and the Taliban are the bans imposed on women and girls. Since it retook power, it has ordered women to cover up when leaving home, stopped girls and women from attending high school and university, and banned them from parks, gyms, and public baths. The Taliban insists the bans are a domestic matter and reject criticism as outside interference. As Afghanistan grapples with its future, the standoff between the Taliban's authoritarian rule and calls for human rights and equality continues, leaving the nation's path forward uncertain.